Shri Anshu Prakash ji, former Telecom Secretary and Jury Chair, to please stay on stage and give his address and tell everybody how the jury process was conducted and your experience as the jury chair.
Friends, organizers of this event, PD and his team, all the distinguished awardees, and I'm not identifying each one of them as they would soon be honored at the dais. But of course, my senior colleague, Dr. R.S. Sharma, he's there. And all ladies and gentlemen present today, I deem it a great honor and privilege to chair this jury and also to be present here today to briefly address all of you. I have seen a lot of familiar faces, a lot of friends, many former colleagues, and it's always a pleasure interfacing with such known friends where one has had very happy times and good times, which of course continue. I must share with you that the job of the jury chair was actually very simple. I did not have to say much because all the decisions, they were arrived at by consensus. There was no controversy, there was no dissent, and everybody, all the members, and only I think half of them were here today. Many of them were from not in Delhi or out of Delhi stations. I think they could not come. And one or two I did see outside. I don't know where they disappeared in the process somewhere. So it was by consensus, and those who were selected, though selected is the wrong word, identified to be honored, stood out. So it was a no-brainer, essentially. The jury members, however, added a lot of value to discussions, especially about the processes and about the citations. What should be mentioned in the letter which has to go to each one of the awardees. Now, are you going to read the citation when you present the award? You are. So I will not repeat it, what's already written there, because each word has been chosen very, very carefully to articulate the precise contribution of that individual or that individual as a leader of the organization, which has led to this recognition. Dr. R.S. Sharma, of course, we all know him as an officer, former Secretary IT, former Secretary Telecom, Chairman TRAI, and as you saw in the last fire chat discussion, his passion for health and of having various digital platforms talk to each other so that we create an infrastructure which is accessible to all and which can really take up volumes with huge accuracy. So I actually term him as an institution. He is really an institution which has been recognized today. Then for the path breaker of the year, normally an individual is chosen. But this time, we all decided and we all felt that the real path-breaking event which had happened during this year was India coming now very close to launch of our own 4G stack. And this had to be an effort of a combination of stakeholders, public and private, and we have here CDOT, Dr. Rajkumar, who has been my colleague, and I've seen the zeal with which he has worked tirelessly, and his entire team. It's a very wonderful organization, CDOT, which DOT and government and India has. And then, of course, from the private sector, we had no less than TCS, one of the giants, and NGS there at the leadership. And he also and his team, and I'm aware that today he has not come, and in his place we have Mr. Vimal Kumar. So that's wonderful because I did have a chance to interact with him also. And how they brought in so much of energy into the entire process. And Tejas, who we heard Mr. Kumar, and there were other founders of Tejas we were dealing with, and they did their contribution. And whatever they did not have, that I believe has been made. But all this could not have been possible if there was no client. And BSNL has really taken a lot of risk, but it is worth it for country as a whole, because if India can have our own 4G stack, then it's only a step further for 5G, because after all, I mean, it's a question of software and certain upgradations which can happen in a, or even if you go for a standalone, that can happen. It's the right path. I only hope to this team here that you should not take it as a challenge, that delivery of 4G should start ASAP and rollout should encompass the entire country very fast. And of course, last, the award for coup, which again was absolutely a consensus. And what coup has done, what coup has achieved is really phenomenal. And the number of now users, and they've also gone to other countries. There's some talk about how much profit they are making or not making, but I think those things are secondary. Once you establish a name and you establish a followership and you establish volumes, then profits are just a matter of time, and they would also come. So, my congratulations to all of them. I will not bore you about telecom, why is it a happening sector, and where there's never a dull day in telecom, and how dedicated media coverage telecom gets. And it is important because it is touching every aspect of a life, from the time when I get up to the time when I sleep, when I actually put an alarm on the mobile phone now so that I know when to get up. And I believe the mobile also now impacts my psyche in my dreams, because what all is being seen in social media and the impact which is happening, that's also playing somewhere in the mind. So I think 24/7, the digital communication sector is now a part of us. We may like it, we may not like it. Of course, all of us here in this room and this hall would like it. And we have to leverage its strength to make sure that India, one of the few exceptions to countries which are in recession, will go in recession, or where rate of growth is falling down, continues to be a bright spot and should continue to do so. And whether it's Industry 4.0, whether it's AI, whether it's IoT, whatever technology or application we may have, it is the digital communication infrastructure which is being used, the super highway which is being used for us to achieve our aims. And if India is to achieve its targets of growth, it cannot happen without a very robust and booming digital communication sector and telecom sector. I'm sure we are on the way, and this will happen very fast. And one thing which I worry, and I'm sure leaders in this room would be worrying also, 5G will come, rollout will happen. But the real use of 5G can only take place when we have enough applications for that. I somehow believe that the application pace is probably not keeping, it's not in sync with the pace of rollout. So there, perhaps we as a country, we as an industry would need to do more, and our youngsters and young entrepreneurs would need to do more. And I would suggest to PG that from next time, you should also institute an award for the best application using the digital communication technology. That should be recognized, how this has happened. I mean, you can of course throw this open to your other colleagues, but it may be a good idea, because with time, we should also change and we should widen our scope and perspective. So, what we need is now a group of people who understand technology, who have imagination, who have application orientation, entrepreneurship skills, of course, a conducive environment, and a lot of luck. Now, when large platforms are being built by the government through leaders like Mr. R.S. Sharma, we must find applications to justify how these have to be fully utilized, not only for India. I'm very happy that in the last session, it was mentioned that we should look at the global market. Self-sufficient, Atmanirbhar, according to me, means yes, we are not being blackmailed by some other person or a country or a company. We have the capacity to do what we need to do. Ultimately, it has to be comparative advantage, and we have to see whose costs are lower and what do we gain in making it ourselves or importing. But then we have to look at a global perspective. India is a large market, no doubt, but we have to see the world and we have to become the providers of the world. The second thing is about skilling, training, retraining, and this I would think is for both users and for the labor force. Users, because the demographic profile of India is also changing, and many of us who are in the senior citizen or even mid 40s, mid 50s may not be that familiar with smartphones or at least the full application of smartphones or how best we can utilize the technology. So some training, retraining, skilling is required. More important is the feeling that some jobs may go by having digital technology, artificial intelligence, and machine learning, and what all. And some articles have been coming of late. We all must have seen that. We need to work on it so that the technology should not only create more jobs, it should create more jobs in a time frame which is acceptable. It cannot be too late. So, as responsible people, I think we need to work on that also. There are spectrum issues which always will be there. These need to be resolved further. A lot of reforms were done, but yes, more reforms may be required. ROW issues, government has taken a lot of initiatives, but states, municipalities, they are the real ones who have to decide on ROW. They must come on board, and with the cells becoming smaller, 5G and 6G, and we are going on now higher frequencies, we need far more towers or far more ways by which we can reach our destination. So this aspect would require a lot of thinking, a lot of innovation, and a lot of aesthetics, so that what we see is something beautiful and not something ugly. And we also have to take care of the consumer resistance, not in my backyard. There can be a tower anywhere, but not near my house. So this aspect has to be addressed in a responsible manner. The smartphone pricing, that would be an issue, and I hope there's some disruptive pricing soon so that more access to smartphones can happen. Finally, my congratulations to Voice and Data and the team for this excellent function and their initiative, which they have been continuing for over 2 decades now. So congrats, PD. I think he deserves a hand involved all of his team. And my congratulations to all the awardees whom we'll honor just now. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.